All right, we'll say good morning. Let's begin. Beautiful daf ahead of us today. Today's daf is Yud Tes 19. We are picking up Yud Ches Samad Beis, and we're picking up in Meretz Hashem 7 lines up from the bottom. V'chin Amar Reish Lakish. Our share this morning is dedicated by Yonasan and Rachel Wolf, in loving memory of Rachel's mother, Chaya Bas Moshe Zichron Livracha, and all of the learning in the month of Elul is dedicated by Bennett Goldberg in memory of his parents, Avram ben Asher Pinchas, Fega Rezel Bas Zelig, and the hopes that all of this Rebbe Mishpacha had their tefillos answered over the Yomim Noraim. We thank Bennett for his sponsorship, the Shamash Tav and Aliyah, and the family's Einachama. Bossy, with that, let's begin. V'chin Amar Reish Lakish. So let's remember again, just to reorient ourselves, we left off with an interesting machlokes, or I should say, an interesting general discussion. So here's what we know. I know that in the case of a chatas, remember again, a chatas is brought for a case b'shogeg. If I go ahead and I perform an act b'shogeg, perform a particular act accidentally, right? And I have, so obviously to perform it b'shogeg means I have a lapse of awareness. So I didn't know what I was doing was wrong. I did it, then I have an awareness, then I forget again and do it wrong again. So the halacha is I'm chayv a separate chatos for each and every separate lapse of awareness. Same thing with asham talui. Right? Asham Talui Bosai means I have a doubtful situation. I may have done something wrong. At the time that I did it, I didn't know obviously that it was even possibly wrong. And then again, I do it. Chayiv, I have an awareness that I may have done something wrong. If I then do the same thing again, I could be chayiv multiple Asham Taluis, or Ashamos. Could be chayiv multiple karbanos. The shayla the Gemara was dealing with over here is, does Yedias Safek create? Does it create a distinction between one chatos and another chatos? Meaning what? I go ahead and, for example, I eat a piece of chaylev b'shogeg. After it happens, I'm not sure if I did or if I didn't. Right? It's called the Yedias Safek. Then I go ahead and eat accidentally a piece of chaylev again. Afterwards, I'm not sure. Did I do it or didn't I do it? That's called a Yedias Safek, in between acts of shogeg. So does a Yedias Safek in between acts of shogeg create independent liabilities as well? Reish Lakish said that Rabbi Paskin, that Yedios Safek, which Rabbi Seiken means possible knowledge in between acts of shogeg, creates independent liability for chatos. Rabbi Yochanan Amar ein Yedios Safek mechalkos lechatos. Rabbi Yochanan says no, not true. That ultimately again Yedios Safek do not create independent liability for chatos. Alahachi katoni. Rather, this is what it means to say. Kashem shem haisalo Yedia vadai maybe akolachas va'achos. Just like Rabbi say, if you perform multiple shogegim, right, and in between your shogegim, you realized what you did, you have to bring an independent chatos for each act of shogeg. Kachim haisalo Yedias Safek maybe asham taloi al kol achas va'achos. So Rabbi say ultimately of what? If you go ahead and you have the Yedias Safek in between every single possible infraction, you would bring a separate asham taloi for each act as well. So we'll say, so again, in Rabbi Yochanan's model, so the halacha works like this. If you have a Yedias Vadai in between every act of shogeg, you will be chayiv v'chatos for every act of shogeg. If you have a Yedias Safek in between every act of asham talui, of Safek, you'll bring a separate asham talui. But if you have a Yedias Safek in between every act of shogeg, that will not create independent liability for chatos. So the Gemara says, Bishal Rabbi Yochanan, so we'll say, I understand Rabbi Yochanan why the nature of the argument is linking asham to chatos. El Reish Lakish chatas ba'asham ibayle. But according to Reish Lakish, the argument should be made by linking chatas to asham, to which the Gemara says kasha. You know what? That is a good question. V'rami Rabbi Yochanan. So we'll say now the Gemara is going to pose a contradiction between the positions of Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. How so? Here we go. But it's an interesting case. Desanya, Shnei Shavilin. But this is an incredible Gemara. Shnei Shavilin. There are two paths in front of you. Echad Tamei ve'echad Tar. I will say, what a musar. What a musar and a metaphor for life. Isn't life all about Shnei Shevilin? There are every single moment in life, there are two paths in front of me. Echad tamei ve'echad tahar. What's the problem? Sometimes I don't know which one is which. So watch this. Says the Gemara, V'halach b'rishon v'lo nichnas b'sheni. So if I went down one path, I went down the first path, but I didn't go down the second path. I should read that differently. So let me read that again. So the Gemara says, "So halach barishon v'lo nichnas." So we'll say, I went down the first path. Lo nichnas. Remember, the issue over here that we're dealing with over here is a person goes down a path where there's potential tumah, and then they walk into the Beis Hamikdash. Walking into the Beis Hamikdash, obviously in a state of tumah, is if you do it b'meiz, it is punishable by death. Right? Do it b'shogeg, you would bring a chatos. Actually, in this case, you don't bring a chatos. You bring an olev v'yored, special type of carbon, a carbon olev v'yored. So the Gemara says as follows. So now I go down the first path, but I didn't go into the Beis Hamikdash. B'sheni, then I go down the second path, v'nichnas. So we'll say, so essentially what's happened over here is what? I go down path 1, I go down path 2, and then I enter into the Beis Hamikdash. So what's the halacha? Chayiv, right? Chayiv. Why? Because either I definitely encountered tumah. I went down both paths. I definitely encountered tumah. Different chayiv carbon olav yored. Last line in Chesed Beis halach b'rishon v'nichnas. But so what happens if I went down the first path and then I went into the Beis Hamikdash? Potter. Then I will say if I go into the Beis Hamikdash after having gone down the first path, I'm potter. Why? Because it's a suffix. Maybe the first path was tamei, maybe it's not. B'sheni v'nichnas. But then if I subsequently went down the second path and then entered into the Beis Hamikdash, chayiv, I'm going to be chayiv. Because what was at that point in time what? At that point in time, again, I've definitely encountered tumah. Halach b'rishon v'nichnas. Listen to this case. I went down the first path and then I went into the Beis Hamikdash. V'hiza v'shana v'taval, and I go through the purification process of paraduma. And then V'halach b'sheni v'nichnas. Then I go down the second path and I walk into the Beis Hamikdash. Chayiv. Ultimately, again, so first opinion says that I'm chayiv for entering into the Beis Hamikdash in a state of tumah. Now Rashi says over here, b'sheni v'nichnas. Rashi says, u'b'chnisasa b'sheni nis'amim ena tumah diknisa rishona chayiv. Ultimately, I will say in this case over here, when I go down the second path and subsequently enter into the Beis Hamikdash, I forgot about when I went down the first path. So again, first opinion says that I'm chayiv. Top of Yutas Medalif. Rabbi Shimon poter bezum. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Shimon says that halacha l'maisa, I am poter. Why? Look at Rashi. Top Rashi Yutas Medalif. Tishnei tumos ninhu. Av akol chada v'chada knisa akol chada v'chada knisa. Ikal neimar shevil zahutar v'hilchach leka yedia v'ada'is betchila. Ubetumas mikdash bo'inen yedia betchila b'sof element sense. Well, Rabbi Shimon says you're potter. Why am I potter? Ultimately, again, because in this particular situation, each pathway or each knisa is looked at fundamentally independently, and the mice again, I could say that each path was potentially tar. Rabbi Shimon Yehuda poter b'kulan mishum Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Shimon Yehuda actually says about that what? In fact, all of these cases are potter because of what Rabbi Shimon just said. Now, I will say Rabbi Shimon's svara is predicated on the following idea. We're going to see it shortly, which is that in order to be chayiv for bias mikdash, right? In order to be chayiv for entering into the Beis Mikdash in a state of tumah, you must have yediyah v'ados. There must be definitive knowledge of contact with tumah. Definitive knowledge means what? Not just, I know there are two paths, one of them was tamei, and I went down both, so therefore I came into contact with tumah, right? But definitive knowledge of contact of tumah means I know for sure where the tumah was and what it was. In the absence of that, I'm going to be potter. The Gemara says, "Va'afilu b'kamaisa," and this would be true even in the earlier case. The earliest case, we'll say, was what? I go down path 1, and then I go down path 2, and then I enter into the Beis Hamikdash. Now, in that case, I will say one thing is clear, which is I definitely came in contact with the tumah. Even in that case, apparently Rabbi Shimon would say that I'm potter because there is not a yediyah vadois. To which the Gemara says, "Amar Rav Hacham asking on what's the case? Kigon shahalach barishon ubeshas hilucho b'sheni shachach shahalach barishon." Oh, let's say, watch this. What's the case? The case is where there's a helam. The case is where I went down the first path, and ultimately, again, when I was going down the second path, I forgot that I went down the first. Isn't this interesting? I went down the first, and then I went down the second, and at the time that I went down the second, I forgot that I went down the first. Ubaha pligi. And I will say, what are they arguing about? Here we go. Tanakama savar miktsas yediyah ki yediyah damya. The Tanakama holds that even a partial awareness is good enough. Rabbi Shimon savar miktsas yediyah lav yediyah damya. And Rabbi Shimon says no. We'll say that a miktsas yediyah. In other words, we'll say everyone agrees that for tuma, for bias mikdash, I should say, you need a yediyah. The shaila is how much yediyah do you need? The Tanakama says even a partial yediyah is going to be enough. So now that I know that I'm going down road number 2, even though at the time that I'm going down road number 2, I forgot that I went down road number 1. After I go down road number 2, I remember I went down road number 1 as well. That's enough ultimately again to create liability. Rabbi Shimon says partial yediyah is not going to be enough. Amar Mar, halach berishon v'nichnas v'hiza v'tava v'halach b'sheni v'nichnas chayev. So we'll say now another case. What happens if I go down the first path, enter into the Beis HaMikdash? I then go ahead and go through the purification process. That's Pachiza, Nichnas, that's Paraduma. And then I go down the second path, and I enter into the Beis HaMikdash. So what's the halacha? Chayiv. So you're chayiv. Amai chayiv. Why? I don't understand. Why should I be chayiv? Ha lo havi le yediyah. We'll say at the end of the day again, if you're going to tell me that Rabbi Shimon holds that I need definitive yediyah, which means that halacha l'maisa, I need to have absolute clarity that there was tumah where the tumah was, even in this case, there's not definitive yediyah. So also in other words, you could say in these cases, there's what's called de facto yediyah, right? What's de facto yediyah? I know that I came in contact with tumah. How do I know that? Because there are 2 paths, one of them had tumah, and I walked down both of the paths. So de facto, I know that I came in contact with tumah, but that's not definitive yediyah because I don't know where the tumah was, which path it was on. Amrei Shlakish, Hamani Rabbi Shmuel. Ultimately, again, who does this reflect? The view of Rabbi Shmuel, the lo ba'i yediyah betchila. Rabbi Shmuel does not require ultimately again yediyah betchila. Rashi says over here. We'll see that Rabbi Shmuel in just a moment. So the Gemara says Rabbi Yochanan Amar afilu teimu rabbanan. The truth is it can even be the rabbanan. How so? Kan asu safek yediyah ki yediyah. Ultimately, in this case over here, Chazal made a safek yediyah like yediyah itself. To which the Gemara says, Kan asu safek yediyah ki yediyah. So you might have thought that I will say this would be true over here, and ultimately again, Safek Yediyah should be like this l'chala Torah kula as well. So we'll say, so what do you see from here? Kashid Rabbi Yochanan to Rabbi Yochanan, Kashid Rish Lakish. So we'll say, so ultimately again, halacha l'maisa, you begin to see that the shitos espoused over here contradict that which Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish said earlier. To which the Gemara says, Bishlam Rabbi Yochanan lo kashya. It's not a contradiction on Rabbi Yochanan. How so? Kan asu ava b'chala Torah kula lo. It's only over here that's what? It's only over here that they made yediyas safek. I should say that differently. Safek yediyah ki yediyah is only a din ultimately again by tumah, by this case of the Shnei Shvilin, but it's not true by the rest of Torah. Kan asu ava b'chala Torah kula lo. My timer. What's the reason? So ultimately again by Tumah it says it was hidden from him and he became Tameh. Yediyah de isba nami safek chayiv. So we'll say, so the pasuk itself when it says v'ne'ela mimenu v'hu tameh indicates to me that even if the Tumah is hidden from me, there's still the possibility of Tumah. So you even see over here in the case of Shnei Shvilin, even if it's safek Tumah, you can still become Tameh. Ava b'chala Torah kula ksiv a whole day love chataso. But I will say in general, when it comes to tumah requires some level of definitive knowledge. If you know what happened, then you'll be chayiv. If you don't know what happened, you won't be chayiv. El Reish Lakish kasha. But according to Reish Lakish, I will say, what do we do? Admukim lo Rabbi Shmuel lukma karebi. Ultimately, again, instead of establishing the position like Rabbi Shmuel, go ahead and set it up like Rabbi. Hakamash Rabbi Shmuel nami lo ba yediyah betchila. So would it be teaching me that Rabbi Shmuel does not require yediyah in the beginning of the event, but Hamas Nisini. But we learn this from the Mishnah this nan. Rabbi Shmuel Omer v'ne'elam mimenu shtei pamim lechayiv al ha'elam tumav al ha'elam mikdash. The pasuk says ultimately v'ne'elam. It was hidden from him. The pasuk says that twice. One is to teach you what Rabbi saying, the chayav al ha'elam tumah v'al ha'elam mikdash. Rabbi saying in the case of where you enter into the base of mikdash in a state of impurity, so the ha'elam means I didn't know what was happening. That I didn't know what was happening can be manifest in two different ways. Either I did not know that I was tamei, the tumah became hidden from me, so I didn't know I was tamei at the time that I entered into the base of mikdash, or I didn't realize I was entering into the Beis HaMikdash. If either, I know I was tamei, but I didn't realize I was entering into the Beis HaMikdash. If any one of those two pieces of information is hidden from me, ultimately, again, I am still chayev for tumah. To which the Gemara says, "It's tzrich sagadai chamina." I need this because I would have thought the following: mikra lesle migmara isle. That perhaps I don't learn it out from the pasuk, but halacha l'maaseh that's part of some tradition. Kamash Mala know that in fact it is learned out from a pasuk. So I will say, so bottom line, as we finish up this sugya, so what is the halacha? So we'll remember again, this is a fundamental yesodistic question. We've been dealing a lot with what happens, what creates independent liabilities for individual actions. I know that ultimately, again, events that occur in one lapse of awareness can often be reckoned as one big event. One big event and often be remedied, let's say, with one carbon, depending on the circumstances. I also know that when I have an awareness in between individual acts, that awareness creates individual liability for those types of acts. I know that ultimately, again, if I have definitive awareness in between multiple acts of shogeg, then what? Definitive awareness in between different acts of shogeg creates what? Independent chatas liability for each act. I also know that halacha l'maaseh, if I have what we call possible awareness, it doesn't make sense, it's not good English, but possible awareness means I'm aware that I possibly did something wrong. In between multiple events of Asham Talui, that'll what? Generate independent liability for Asham Talui. What about possible awareness in between multiple shogegin acts? So also listen to this. So to close out this sugya, the Rambam in Hilchos Shkagus, Parak Ches Halacha says the following. Achol, oh no, this is not it. Wrong Rambam. Okay, so I'll tell you the Rambam. It's Perek Ches Halacha Zayin in Hilchos Shogeg, and I'm not going to go to it on my phone because otherwise it's going to knock me out of the recording. All right, say stay tuned. I'll tell you while she's pulling it up. Thank you. Is I will say the Rambam essentially paskins that halacha l'maisa wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, it's asking me to make a gift of $18. This is mamish. Okay, excellent. Let's say here's the halacha. Hilchos Shkagus Parak Ches Halacha Zayin. Halacha Zayin. Asa malachos har me'i malacha achos. I just have to go up. We're good. I should just give the money already. It's not, all right, you're supposed to listen to this. No, I have it. Thank you. Okay. Here it is. Kishem sheyedias vaday bein sai mechalekes lachatos, kach yedios sofek bein sai mechalekes laashamos. Just like definitive awareness creates independent liability for chatas offering. So we'll say this is very important. So just to clarify this, there's a piece of meat. I thought it was shuman, permitted. Instead, it was chaylev. I ate it. At the time that I ate it, I did not realize I was doing something wrong. Afterwards, I realized I ate something aser. Right? What's the halacha? What's my liability? Chatos, okay? Now I will say, so let's say that happens to me 5 times. So I ate a piece of meat, I thought it was mutter, turns out chaylev. Okay, I realized what I did wrong. Happens again and again. Independent each act, I realized what I did was wrong. What's the halacha? I did it 5 times? 5 chatos. 5 chatos. So the Rambam says the same way that works for chatos, it also works for asham talui. So for example, same case. There are 2 pieces of meat. One was chaylev, one was shuman, permitted, prohibited. I ate one of them. I thought the one that I ate was what? Was permitted. After I finished eating it, I realized I heard one of them was chaylev, and I'm not sure which one I ate. What's the halacha in such a case? Asham talui. The Boss said, let's say that occurs 5 times, meaning I eat one, I realize now I don't know which one I ate. Or maybe I ate the motor, maybe it's okay. I eat again, I realize I don't know which one I ate. I eat again, I realize I don't know which one I ate. So Boss said, that's called yedias safek. So after I ate, I'm not sure that I eat something prohibited or not. Asham talui. Every yedias safek, every awareness creates its own independent liability. Lefichach. Imachal chamisha zeisei chile behelam achos v'nodalo yedias safek al achas man v'chazer v'nodalo yedias safek acheres al hasheni v'chin al kol achas v'achas chayiv asham talui al kol achas v'achas. Rabbi say, so ultimately again the halacha is, you see, the Rambam paskins, it is only yedias vadai that is mechalekes, that is mechalik between chatos events, and only yedias safek that is mechalik between asham talui events, but yedias safek will not be mechalik by chatos events. Which means, if I eat a piece of meat, I thought it was shuman, but it turns out that it was chayil, or I should say afterwards, I say, wow, that might have been asr. I don't know if I did something wrong or not. Yedias safek does not generate obligation or liability for chatos. Only yedias vadai generates liability for chatos, and only yedias safek generates liability for asham talui, and neither works for the other type of carbon. Good. Well, so with that, let's go weiter. Says the Mishnah. We'll say another fascinating. Thank you, Mashi. Another fascinating case. Chaylev and nosra lefanov. Let's listen to this case. I have chaylev and nosra in front of me. Va'achal echad mehen ve'eni yodea eizeh mehen achal. So I'll say, so again, I have 2 pieces of meat in front of me. I ate one of them. I don't know which one I ate. Which one I ate. Fine. Ishtonida va'achosu. Now again, I want to be clear. What's different in this case? What's different in this case? Both are asr. Both are asr. Also, up until this point in time, we've been dealing with 2 situations where one is mutter, one is asr. In this case, everything's asr. Everything is asr. Chaylev and osar. I don't know which one I ate, but I know the truth is whichever one I ate, I know that ultimately I consumed something prohibited. Next case. Ishto nido va'achoso imo babayis. We'll say if a man is in the house, his wife is in nida, and his sister, 2 women. V'shagag ba'achos mehen. He knows that he had relations with one of them. Ve'eni yodeh be'ezah mehen. He's not sure which one. Good. Right, so what's that? Right, so we'll say, so again, whatever the Messias is over there, right? I'm sure someone's going to be starting a WhatsApp group, surrounding this. Good. Next, Shagag Shabbos Yom Kippurim. We'll say what happened in the next case. Rav Ezav Ve'eni Yodeh Ezem Shagag. Shabbos Yom Kippurim. V'asa Malacha Ben Hashmashas. Ve'eni Yodeh Be'ezem Ehen Asr. Let's listen to this interesting case. Let's say Shabbos goes into Yom Kippur. So we'll say, so I know what happens. I do malacha ben hashmashas. Remember again, ben hashmashas is that twilight period where there's safek yom, safek laila. So I know I committed a malacha. I just don't know what. Was it on Shabbos or was it on Yom Kippur? So we'll say the common denominator amongst all of these cases is I have a safek what I did. But bottom line is, no matter what the scenario, I did something wrong. Whether it was chaylev or nosar, whether it was my wife who's in nidar, my sister, right? Whether it was malacha on Shabbos or Yom Kippur, right? Either way, I've done something wrong. So we'll say, so what's the halacha? Rabbi Eliezer mechayiv chatos. Rabbi Eliezer says, chayiv chatos. We'll say, why mechayiv chatos? Because at the end of the day, I know I did something wrong. And what I did wrong, by the way, is punishable by misa. This is very important. We'll say, either of these scenarios, nida, sister, Shabbos, Yom Kippur, chaylev, nosar, any of these things, if done intentionally, carry with them a chiyuv misa. Remember again, chatos is brought for when you do something accidentally, that had you done it intentionally, you would have been chayiv misa. So Rabbi Elazar says, listen, no matter what, you've done something wrong, so you bring the chatos. Rabbi Yeshua poter. Rabbi Yeshua says you're poter. Now, I want to be clear, by the way. When we say pater, right? Pater doesn't mean like, hey, have a great day, right? I was like, pater means you are exempt from carbonic liability. We can't ask you to bring a carbon under these circumstances. Obviously, it's something you have to do tshuva for what you did wrong. Rashi says, look at Rashi, Rabbi Shua poter, so we already know where Rabbi Shua is coming from, even before the Gemara explains it. Rabbi Shua is telling me that in order to generate chatas liability, you must what? You must know what you did. And obviously after the fact, right? But you must have clarity on what you did. Even though in this case over here, I know for sure I did something wrong, Rabbi Yeshua will say that's not enough. You must have absolute clarity as to what you exactly did wrong. Am Rabbi Yossi, lo nechlaku ala osa malacha ben hashmashos shu pater. So Rabbi Yossi says, the truth is they don't argue about the fact that if you did malacha ben hashmashos, that you're pater. I will say, now watch this. So Rabbi Yossi is coming along and say, by the way, I don't like the case of Shabbos and Yom Kippur. Why? Because it could actually be that in that case, not only you're not chayav v'chatos, it could be that you're pater. Why? Listen, this is great. Shani Omer miktsas asa hayom umiktsas asa lamachar. Because in that case, I could easily say what? It could be that part of the malacha was done on Shabbos, part of the malacha was done on Yom Kippur. Now I will say, now the halacha is you're only chayiv achatos if you do a complete malacha. It's possible that this malacha, half of it was done on one day, half of it was done on another day. Aman nechlaku. So what do they argue about? Ala osem malacha b'soch hayom. What they argue about is one who did a malacha during the day, ve'en yodeh im b'Shabbos asa im Yom Kippurim asa. And I will say he has date ambiguity. In other words, I'm not sure, I know I did a malacha, I know the sun was out. I just don't remember, did I do it on Yom Kippur or did I do it on Shabbos? Oh, ala osa ve'en yodeh me'en ezo malacha asa. Or for that matter, I know that I did a malacha, and I even know which day I did it on, but what? I don't remember which malacha I did. That in that case, Rabbi Eliezer mechayiv chatas, Rabbi Eliezer will say that you're still chayiv chatas. Why? Why? Because we know you did something wrong, right? Whether it was Shabbos, whether it was Yom Kippur, whether it was Kotzer, whether it was Choresh, it doesn't make a difference. We know you know you did something definitively wrong. And Rabbi Yeshua poter, Rabbi Yeshua will say, no, that's not the way chatas works. Chatas only works if you know definitively what you did. Am Rabbi Yehuda, potro hayi Rabbi Yeshua, af mi asham talui. Now, both say that's interesting. Rabbi Yehuda says, by the way, when we say that you're pater, pater means what? Not only pater for a chatas, but what? Even from an asham talui. Right? In other words, there's no carbonic liability. So the Gemara says, af mi asham talui. Rabbi Shimon Shazuri Omrim, lo nechlaku al davar shumishum shuhumi shem echad shu chayiv. So we'll see what this statement means. But Rabbi Shimon and Shazuri are both saying that ultimately, again, they did not argue on something that is mishum shem echad. If you look at Rashi for just a moment, al davar shumi shem echad kigon shtei ilanos shalmin echad lefanov v'lo yada im mizeh lakat im mizeh. So we'll say, for example, now Rabbi Shimon Shazuri come along and say like this. The Machlokes in Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yoshua is talking about, again, where I know I did something wrong, but the two events are totally different. And let's say, again, we'll say there are two trees in front of me, and I know that I picked an apple off a tree on Shabbos. Av malacha, right? Do it intentionally, chiyav misa. Do it unintentionally, chayav v'chatos. What's my safek? I don't know which tree I took it off of. Was it this tree? Was it that tree? So Rabbi Shimon and Shazuri say, Rabbi Yoshua and Rabbi Eliezer don't argue in that case. In that case, both agree ultimately, again, that you're chayev v'chatos. Aman nechlakus. What do they argue about? Al davar shu mishum beis shemos. They both say what they argue about are two things with two distinct identities. Rabbi Eliezer mechayev chatos. Rabbi Eliezer says even if you're not sure what you did, but either way it's aser, you're still going to be chayev chatos. And Rabbi Yeshua says no. If you don't know what you did, then halacha l'maaseh again you cannot be chayev chatos. Am Rabbi Yehuda afilu niskavin. Let lilko te'enim velikate avanim velikate te'enim shchoros velikate levanos velikate shchoros. So we'll say, so now comes Rabbi Yehuda and says, what about in the following case? I had intention to harvest something, right? But I had intention for A, and instead I took B. I was going to take grapes, instead I took figs. I was going to take figs, instead I took grapes. I was going to harvest white figs, instead I took black figs. So we'll say, what's the halacha? Rabbi Eliezer mechayev chatas. So again, in this case, Rabbi Eliezer will say that you're chayev chatas. Rabbi Yoshua poter, but Rabbi Yoshua apparently will still say that you are poter. So we'll say, which is not totally surprising, because at the end of the day, what Rabbi Yoshua says is it has to be clearly well, actually, we'll see in the Gemara. Rabbi Yoshua's poter. I'm Rabbi Shimon Timhani im poter bar Rabbi Yoshua. I would be shocked if Rabbi Yoshua ultimately again would pater in this case. Rashi says, look, it's Rashi's second wide line. Timea ani im pater ba kilomar alma pater ba Rabbi Yoshua lo niskaven al davara aser. So what's like Rabbi Shimon? Is it Rabbi Shimon? Rabbi Yehuda. Sorry, it's changed. Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, I'd be shocked if Rabbi Eliezer, I'm sorry. Timhani im pater ba Rabbi Yoshua. I would be shocked ultimately again if Rabbi Yoshua would pater in this type of case, right? Why? Imkein lama ne'emar asher chataba prat lemisasik. So we'll say, we're going to see Rabbi Yehuda says, I don't think Rabbi Shimon would pater in that case. Because Rabbi Yoshua. I don't think Rabbi Yoshua would pater in that case. Why? Because we'll say in this case over here, your intention was to do kotzer, to uproot something, and what? You uprooted something. The fact that you wanted to take grapes, but instead you took figs, white figs, and you took black figs, that shouldn't matter. You had kavana for a malacha, and you did the very malacha that you set out to do. The fact that you ended up uprooting something else, I would think that even Rabbi Yoshua would agree that in such a case, what? You should be chayiv echatos. So the Gemara says, Im kein lama ne'emar asher chataba. So if that's the case, ultimately again, why do I need the pasuk asher chataba? I'll say the Gemara is going to teach me how to read this piece of the Mishnah. But ultimately, why do I need that phrase? Prat lemisasek. Rabbi say this comes to exclude a case of misasek. And Rabbi say we're going to talk a little bit about misasek in Hilchos Shabbos. Look at Rashi. Rashi gives a very good definition over here. Prat lemisasek, third wide line down. So prat lemisasek ki behetera ki gon lachtoch es atalosh v'chatach es hamechuber aval zeh misasek ba'aser chayiv. So listen to this. The case, there are two different concepts we're going to talk about. One is shogeg, one is misasek. Shogeg means I did something prohibited, but I thought it was permitted. Now there are two different possibilities why I thought it was permitted. Let's say I grab an apple off the tree. So let's say I did it for shogeg. So shogeg manifests itself one of two ways. Either A, I didn't know that it's usher to take an apple off a tree. I just didn't know that halacha. So that's called shigagas malacha, right? I didn't know the malacha was usher. Or the other possibility is what? I didn't know it was Shabbos. Shigagas Shabbos, right? I didn't know it was Shabbos. That's shogeg. Misasek is something different. Misasek means I was doing something permitted, but in the midst of somehow doing something permitted, something prohibited occurred. So for example, I will say in this case over here, my kavana, right? Let's say I was cutting something. I was cutting my piece of meat, which is totally permitted, right? And in the course of cutting my piece of meat, I got a little bit too much zrizos, right? I went ahead and I cut through the paper plate that I was using and I cut a vine. That's called misasek. I had no intention to cut a vine. I was doing something permitted. And in the midst of doing something permitted, I ended up doing something prohibited. We'll discuss that further. Says the Gemara. So we'll say, so bottom line is fundamental machlokes, very exciting machlokes, Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua, where two things, I did one of them. I ate one of them, performed an illicit act of relations, did malacha. Either way, what I did was prohibited. That's clear. I just don't know what I did. Rabbi Eliezer says, chai v'chatos, because you definitely did something wrong. Rabbi Yoshua says, potter from a chatos. Presumably, svara being why? In order to be chai v'chatos, you must what? You must ultimately have definitive knowledge as to what you did wrong. And then a couple of other, I should say, variations of that machlokes in the Mishnah. Tanya, Am Rabbi Eliezer. So Eliezer says, manavshach, I chelev achal chayiv, inoser achal chayiv. I ishtoni dabal chayiv, I achal sabal chayiv. So Rabbi Eliezer says, I don't understand. Of course you're chayiv in these cases. What does it matter whether you ate chelev or whether you ate nosar, whether it was your wife who's a nida or your sister, Shabbos, Yom Kippur, right? They both say all of this stuff together, halacha l'maisa, you did something wrong. So of course you should be chayiv v'chatos. Rabbi Yeshua says no. Harehu omer asher chata ba. They both say the pasuk by chatos says asher chata ba. Chata ba means what? That you sinned in this. Ad sheivadala b'machata. So what's Rabbi Yeshua's drasha is, Ashachata ba, you sinned in this until you know what you sinned with. You only bring a chatos if you have definitive clarity as to what you sinned with. Rabbi Eliezer, hi ba my avile, right? What does Rabbi Eliezer do with this Ashachata ba? Mi boile pratlemis asek. So as he mentioned before, halacha lemaisa, he goes ahead and he uses it to exclude the case of misasek. So remember again, misasek is, I intended to go ahead, or we'll say, what's the paradigmatic case of misasek? Paradigmatic case, remember again, is the dragging of the bench on Shabbos, right? I want to drag a chair from point A to point B. But what happens? After I drag it, I end up creating a furrow, right? Creating a furrow in the ground is the malacha of charisha. That wasn't my intention, right? My intention was to do something permitted, to go ahead and bring a chair from point A to point B. It resulted in something prohibited, leaving aside the discussion of psik reisha, which is a different discussion, not getting into this now, but that's the paradigmatic example of misasek. My intention was to do something totally permitted and okay, right? It ended up resulting in something prohibited. So Rabbi Eliezer says, Ashachata ba, comes to exclude misasek. Amud beis. So misasek demai. So let's analyze this. What's the case of misasek? I dechalavim va'arayos chayiv. So both say, remember again, in a case of misasek, so let's say both say you were consuming permitted meat, but in your great love of flesh, right? You ended up consuming chaylev, right? It happens. You just got carried away, right? Or we'll say in the case of arayos. Okay, however that happens. Right, in the case of arayos, chayiv. So we'll say, in those cases, we'll say, even you're going to be chayiv by misasek, even by chayiv, right, we'll say, by chayiv and arayos, you're chayiv by misasek. Why? Dam Rav Nachman Shmuel, ha-misasek bechalavim va'arayos chayiv. Why? Shekeinana. We'll say, it's an interesting halacha. The p'tur of misasek, it might be one by Shabbos, does not apply by chayiv and does not apply by arayos. Why, Rabbi Osai? Because by chayiv and by arayos, there's hana. So you can't claim a misasek exemption in any case where there is hana. Be misasek b'Shabbos pater. I will say, but 1 second, misasek by Shabbos is pater. That's different. My taima, meleches machshavas asra Torah. I will say the reason why you are pater by misasek by Shabbos is because by Shabbos the definition is not just performance of malacha, but what? Meleches machshavas. I will say meleches machshavas means what? There must be kavana for the malacha. If the malacha just goes ahead and just occurs by itself as a result of something else I was doing, that's not called malachas Shabbos. So you know where else this comes up? Very halacha l'may Shulchan Aruch paskins, right? Let's say someone is practicing tekiyas shofar, right? On Rosh Hashanah, I'm practicing, and it turns out that in the course of my practice, I belt out 100 perfect kolos. What's the halacha? I don't fulfill my mitzvah with that. That's misasek b'tkiyah shofar. If my kavanah wasn't to blow the kolos, but just to practice, has Shulchan Aruch paskins. So we'll say, so again, we're going to see Shabbos, Meleches Machshavos, even other mitzvos. Chaylev, Chalavim, or Arayos might be different because there's Hana. L'Rav Mishkachos laws, according to Rava, you could say, what's the case? Kigon shenis kavin lachtoches atalush, v'chataches amechuber. So according to Rava, you'll say, what's the case of misasek? My intention was to cut something that was detached, and instead I ended up cutting something that was attached. So I will say this is a very simple case. I'm cutting something, and I end up cutting something that is attached to the ground. That's misasek la abaye mishkachos la kigon denis kavin lag bias atalush v'chatachas amechuber. According to Rabbi, we'll say, where could it come up? My intention was to go ahead and lift up something that was detached. Instead, I ended up lifting up something that was what? Attached. And as a result of lifting up the attached item, I ended up detaching it. Ditmar, here we go. Niskami lagbi as atalosh v'chatachas amechuber. I had in mind to lift up something that was detached from the ground, which is permitted, and I ended up detaching something that was muchuber. Pater. Ultimately, again, that is pater. Why? My taima daha lo ichavein l'shum chaticha. Because we'll say in that case over here, I don't have any intention for anything prohibited. In other words, I didn't have even intention for any type of chaticha. Right? What was my intention? To lift something up. The fact is that in the course of my lifting something up, I ended up detaching something that's called miskaving. Right? Or miskaving, I should say. So, misasek. Lachto chasatalish v'chatachas hamechuber. But listen to this interesting case. What happens if someone had in mind to cut something that was detached, but ended up cutting something that was attached. Abaye Amar Chayiv Do'achav L'Shum Chaticha. Abaye says you're Chayiv. Why? Because you did have intention to cut. Once you had intention to cut, right, there was the act of cutting could potentially be a Maisa Malacha, even though your intention was for something detached, but you ended up cutting something attached. So Abaye says you're Chayiv. You're Chayiv. Rava Amar, so when we say Chayiv, means Chayiv Chata, so obviously your intention was not to perform a Malacha. Rava Amar Pater, Dahaloi Chavin Lechaticha Di Surah. Rava says, no, in that case, that is still misasek. Bless you. Why? Because at the end of the day, you did not have in mind for any type of prohibited cutting. Good. Rabbi Yossi Omer Lo Nechlaku. So let's remember again, Rabbi Yossi in the Mishnah said what? Rabbi Yossi said that they don't argue about the case of a malacha that was done bein hashmashos. Why? Because Rabbi Yossi says everyone agrees that if you did a malacha bein hashmashos between Shabbos and Yom Kippur, that's what? What's the halacha? Potter. Why? Maybe you did part of the malacha on Shabbos and part of the malacha on Yom Kippur. In other words, who's to say you did the complete malacha on any one given day? Says Gemara Tanya, it's really incredible. Amar lahem Rabbi Yossi dikdaktem acharai. Rabbi Yossi says, wow, you've really been very meticulous in analyzing my words and overturned my position. I will say, now listen to this. Good, fine. So Rabbi Yossi says, you've been very dikdaktim acharai. Rashi says, kilomar nitzchasuni vekaptuchuni. In other words, you have defeated and refuted my position. So it says the Gemara, what are you talking about? My amrile. So we'll say, so what does Rabbi Yossi mean when he says, my amrile dikdaktim acharai? Hachi amrile. This is what it means to say. Hikbiya ben hashmashos mahu. Right? So what happened? What happens if a person picked up an item, right? In between by ben hashmashos, what's the halacha? Amar lahu dikdaktim acharai. V'neima lahu miktsas hagba haisa mehayom umiktsasa lemachar. Hachinami kamar lahu dikdaktim acharai v'lo ha'elisum biyadchem klum. So that's what Rabbi Yossi meant to say is like this. You tried to overturn my position and refute me, but you were unsuccessful. Meaning Rabbi Yossi says, I hold true to the fact that if you did a malacha ben hashmashas, then what? You can't be chayiv. Why can't you be chayiv? Because Rabbi Yossi says it's possible that what? Part of the malacha was done on one day, part of the malacha was done on a different day. Rabbi Yossi, Gimar malacha, Rabbi Eliezer Potter. Rabbi Yossi, in Rabbi Yossi's view, ultimately, look at Rashi. Rabbi Yossi, it's almost right across. Nehi nami de miktsas l'machar ha gimar malachahu va'amai kamal divrei akol potter va'ashem inu le Rabbi Eliezer de mechayiv. So we'll say, as we're going to see in just a moment, there's the sheet of Rabbi Eliezer who holds that ultimately you are judged based on gimar malacha, based on the conclusion of the malacha, which means that even if part of the malacha occurred on one day, part of the malacha occurred on a different day, halacha there should still be liability. Hasham alai de mechayiv disnan. Rabbi Eliezer, here we go. Ha'orik shlosha chutin betchila ve'echad al ha'arik chayiv. We'll say, so Rabbi Eliezer says like this. This is for the malacha of oreg, of weaving. If you weave three threads, that's the malacha of ariga. Or if you add on one thread to that which was already woven, you are chayiv. So I'll say, so what do you see from here? You see that halacha l'mais, look at Rashi, Yushnaim ala arik hashirhu ze betchila hainu tamid debai shloshim mishum desasi d'shnaim enam iskaimin aval hacha ikal merchatzi v'merchatzi l'machar. So I'll say, ultimately what? You see that according to Rabbi Eliezer, even adding on one thing to an already completed malacha is asr, which tells you that Rabbi Eliezer will hold you liable for the gimar malacha. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Eliezer, hachi masni. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, ha'orik shlosha chutin betchila, u'shnayim ala arik chayiv. That you have to say like this. Rabbi Eliezer will say that halacha l'maisa, if you go ahead and you weave 3 strings to begin with your chayiv, or add on 2 to the arik, to that which is already woven, ultimately again you will be chayiv as well. So we'll see, even according to Rabbi Eliezer, halacha l'maisa what? Halacha l'maisa is not just enough to add on 1 string, but you'll have to add on something substantive or meaningful like 2 strings. See, even Rabbi Eliezer, when he says that you're chayiv for gimar malacha, will only be true when you do something of significance. So we'll say, so it appears that Rabbi Yossi's qualification is not accepted. Because why? Because according to Rabbi Eliezer, it could very well be that in a case of where part of the malacha was done on one day, part of the malacha was done on a different day, maybe even Rabbi Eliezer would hold that still in such a case there might be some level of liability, depending on the extent of the malacha that was done on the second day. So hold on to Rabbi Yossi's qualification. We'll see if we accepted halacha lamaisa or not. We'll say just a little bit more. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, potra haya af Rabbi Yoshua me asham taloi. So we'll remember again. So now go forward a little bit. We had a machlokes as well as Rabbi Yoshua. There are two things. I did one of them. I don't know which one I did, but they're both aser. Rabbi Eliezer says that what? I am chayiv v'chatas. Rabbi Yoshua says that I'm pater. If you skip down towards the end of the Mishnah, what happens? Rabbi Yehuda says that according to Rabbi Yoshua, I'm pater even from an asham taloi. Right? Even from an asham taloi. No, always Rabbi Yoshua said that I'm pater from chatas, but I'm pater also from asham taloi. So Tanya, I'm Rabbi Yehuda, poach rahaya Rabbi Yoshua af me asham taloi. Rabbi Yoshua says you're pater even from an asham taloi, which is very interesting. Why? Because what's happening over here? I know I did something wrong. I just what? I don't know what I did wrong. But I know for sure I did something wrong. So Rabbi Yeshua says you can't bring a chatas. Why? Why are we sorry? What's this svara? Oh, asher chata ba. I have to know what I did wrong. Rabbi Yehuda comes along and says, not only are you not chayiv chatas, you're not even chayiv asham talui. So it says the Gemara Tanya Rabbi Yehuda opposed Rabbi Yeshua af mi asham talui shneimar ki techta v'lo yada. When do you bring in asham talui? When I went ahead and I sinned and I don't know. Prat lezeh sheyada shechat. Rabbi say this is incredible. Rabbi say when do you bring in asham talui? This is incredible. When do you bring in asham talui? When what? I don't know if I sinned. Rabbi say remember we already established halacha lemaisa. In order to go ahead and bring in asham talui, what do you need? How did the Rambam paskin? Right? Ikva isura, kviya isura. I need to know something asur was here, but something permitted was also here. I don't know. Did I sin or didn't I sin? Rabbi Yehuda says, according to Rabbi Yeshua, you can't bring an asham taloi here. Why? I know for sure I sinned. But it's not asham taloi. Asham taloi is only brought in a case of suffix. Maybe I sinned, maybe I didn't sin. There's no suffix. I for sure sinned here. I just don't know exactly what it is that I did. So see what's happening over here? This is an incredible carbonic mile according to Rabbi Yoshua. According to Rabbi Yoshua, I can't bring a chatos. Why? One word? Ba. Right? You have to know what you sinned with in order to bring a chatos. I can't bring an asham talui. Why? Because asham talui is only brought up in a case of suffix. There's no suffix about if I did something wrong. I definitely did something wrong. I just don't know what I did. I'll say one more line. I'm a little Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon says, Zeu shemevi asham talui. You're wrong. You bring a case asham talui in this case. Shene'emar va'asta v'lo yada. Ze lo yada b'ma'asa. But say in this case over here, he doesn't know what he did. You can bring an asham talui over here. At the end of the day, I don't know. Did I eat chaylev? Did I eat nosar? Did I do malacha on Shabbos? Did I do malacha on Yom Kippur? I don't know. Aval safek achal chaylev. Safek lo achal. Say v'sha'al alav im maybe asham taloi im lov. I was saying in a case of where maybe I ate chaylev, maybe I didn't eat chaylev, then go ask a shayla if you bring asham taloi on that. So my havi Allah. So we'll say, so what is that? Tashma. Chata v'lo yada b'ma chata. We'll say if a person committed an aveira but he doesn't know what he committed. Oh, safek chata, safek lo chata. Or if what? Safek whether he committed the aveira altogether. What's the halacha? Maybe asham talei. So we'll say, so now, wow. So in this case of Rabbi say, I know, so we'll say in this price, it's saying whether I committed an avera. I know I committed an avera. I just don't know what. I don't know what I did. So you see, how can you have a case like that? Rabbi say, that's our Mishnah. 2 pieces of meat. One is chaylev, one is no. So I know for sure that I ate one. I just don't know which one I ate. Or, suffix, if I committed an avera or not, maybe asham talui. So ultimately, Rabbi say, in that case, I bring an asham talui. Man shaman ali da'amar chata, ve'en yadua, b'may chata, maybe asham talui. Rabbi say, who is the opinion who says that if you commit an avera, but you don't know what you did, you bring an asham talui? Rabbi Shimon. Vikatani safek chata, safek lo chata, maybe asham talui. So shmamina is really Rabbi Shimon, safek chata, safek lo chata, maybe asham talui. So we'll say ultimately again, what do you see from here? You see from here that according to Rabbi Shimon, what does he hold? Rabbi Shimon holds that halacha lemaisa. Rabbi Shimon is of the opinion that halacha lemaisa, whether you're not sure about if you committed an avera or not committed an avera. Or I know for sure I committed an avera. I just don't know what I did. You'll bring in asham taloi. That is according to Rabbi Shimon. But apparently Rabbi Yoshua in our Mishnah does not subscribe to this idea. Rabbi Yoshua will say that if you know for sure you sinned, but you don't know exactly what you did, you would not bring an Asham Talui. So we'll stop over here for today. But again, just understand we end off with this machlokes, interesting machlokes about Asham Talui. In a case of where I know for sure I committed an Aveira, I just don't know what I did. Do I bring in Asham Talui or not? Ultimately subject to machlokes. So we'll continue. We're going to see the halacha l'maisa in all of these cases in Me'eretz Hashem, but for today we'll end off with machlokes.